Okay.
I just found out that if you press Alt-A, it unmutes you.
Oh, very nice. Of course, by the time I find Alt-A, then I probably won't need, I could have found it the other way, right? So let's just really quickly, before we watch our video, let's just really quickly look at yesterday's poem. And I'm going to read it twice and just give us a sense of what it is, and then we're going to watch the video, okay? So here we go. The wood frog. I am a frozen frogsicle. I froze beneath a logsicle. My mind is in a fogsicle inside this icy bogsicle. My temperature is 10 degrees. I froze my nose, my toes, my knees, but I don't care. I feel at ease, for I am full of antifreeze. All right, so that was yesterday. Now, one more time. This time, close your eyes. Imagine, as I read the poem, imagine what he looks like, right? The wood frog. I'm a frozen frogsicle. I froze beneath a logsicle. My mind is in a fogsicle inside this icy bogsicle. My temperature is 10 degrees. I froze my nose, my toes, my knees, but I don't care. I feel at ease, for I am full of antifreeze. All right. Got that picture of that guy in your mind? All right, we are, so to find the one thing I need, here we go. Okay, here he goes. Got a lot. All right. There, my friends, what do you think? Pretty interesting to see it in real life, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was.
That video was very interesting.
I like how it explained it in very scientific terms, right? That, you know, how that their body has adapted to make that happen. I think that's super cool. I know that you know, obviously it's really funny because they mentioned in the movie frogsicle, right? And that was one of the words that was in our poem. I am a frozen frogsicle. So he really was a frogsicle. And I thought it was really interesting how they showed takes them a little while to warm up, right? You know, it takes the 2-day process. You don't just all of a sudden unfreeze and then hop away. There's a little bit of an effort for it, for sure. So I will later, I know some of you came in a little later. I will go ahead and make a link to that video if you would like to see it later, or if you are like, Mom or Dad, this is totally cool. I want you to see this, you know, like, and you want to tell them about the wood frog and how it manages to freeze and unfreeze. I will put that. I didn't think to do that before today's lesson, so, but I will do that when I will make sure that I attach that for later. If you would like to come back to the Google Classroom assignment and show them, you certainly can. All right, yes, Miss Cernay. Hi, Pop. Good morning.
Every time I tried to get into this Zoom, it said, please wait for host to start this meeting.
Well, did you try before 9:45?
What?
Did you try before 9:45? Because I didn't open we don't open the Zoom until 9:45. So if you tried before that, it might have mentioned that to you, because there wasn't anyone here until 9:45. Okay. All right. So if you want to go back, I'll attach the video if you want to see it later. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and get started. I'm glad that you're all here. And like I said, I know some of you missed the beginning of that. I'll make sure I attach it. So today we are going to be talking about adaptations and the wide world of frogs. Our learning target today is going to focus mostly on getting the center part of our story written. But we are going to talk a little bit about, I can identify the essential parts of a good narrative. Remember, a narrative is a story that shows the passage of time, whether it be a short, long time or just maybe a day or even an hour, a story that has characters, has a problem, and so forth. And we're going to talk about those essential parts of a good narrative. And we're also going to write as a group as best as we can the middle of our pourquoi. And then we're going to look at our why questions, and I would love it if today we could pick one that you're interested in and get ready. Tomorrow we're going to go ahead and start writing or getting our graphic organizer ready to write our own story. All right, so let's look at what narrative texts look like. Narrative texts are about real or imagined experiences. And so a narrative can be a true story, like about someone's life. It can be something that someone imagined. And we know that when we read pourquoi tales, are they real or are they imagined? A pourquoi tale. Is it real or is it imagined? Ellie, which one is it? Real or imagined?
I had a question.
Okay. Yes, what's your question, sweetie?
I forgot.
Okay. All right. So I have some other friends who have their
I
hands.
have a question.
Yep. I'm kind of looking for the answer to my question, really. Are pourquoi tales real or imagined? Are they real or are they imagined? Isabella, are pourquois real or imagined? What do you think?
I think they're imagined.
Yes. And what is it about them that shows you that? Think about
Because they have made up words.
Okay. Well, sometimes they have made up words. Could be. Think about the ones that we've done so far. Why a frog has a long tongue. And
Noah has his hand up.
oh, right. Noah, help us out.
Because it's not a true story.
Not a true story, because there's a story that basically tells how something that is in real existence, a natural phenomenon, how that came to be, right? But in a sort of very creative way, like why a frog has a long tongue. Remember Kicker? And Kicker he wanted to win the contest, right? And so when he wanted to win the contest, he figured out a way that he could get those flies better. Is that really why frogs have long tongues, though? No, probably not. And then we talked about why poison dart frogs are colorful. Remember our story that we're reading and writing about Rana and the three little frogs that were in the fire, and that they end up getting colors from the jewels, right? Of the cave. That's not really why poison dart frogs are colorful, is it? No. So they are imagined stories, and they have a clear sequence of events. Sequence means in order. First this happens, then this happens, and so on. Sequence of events. The first things happen. And so we start with the beginning. And yesterday we had a beginning of our story. The beginning establishes the situation and introduces the characters or the narrator. And we have some symbols for that, and I'm going to go over that in a second. There's a middle. The middle of the story describes what the problem is and how the characters are dealing with that problem, how they're thinking about it and how they're acting and what they're saying. And then we have the end of our story that has a solution that wraps up the problem and explains what the message or the purpose of the narrative really is. And so you have seen that we have these pages in our workbook, and this is our story about why the story below, underneath the big rectangles, is the story about why poison dart frogs are colorful. But we are writing our story in the top portion about why pollywogs wiggle. And we are doing another version of the story. So let's think about narrative texts. And you have in your workbook, so hopefully your EEL workbook is nearby. You guys know I always need that, right? So everybody go ahead and turn real quick to page 6. Page 6. Everybody, page 6. So it says narrative text handout. So it's the same page that's on the screen there, but it's better if you read your own, because you can see it a little bit better than on my screen. So narrative text handout. So it tells a story to entertain the readers. So you are going to be starting to plan a narrative tomorrow. And so you will definitely want to come up with a question that we have on our list that you think can really entertain the reader. And it's going to be a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end, because they have to have all those 3 parts. And it can be about real events or imagined events. But since we're writing a pourquoi, it's going to be imagined for sure. And we're going to talk a little bit today about, if you look at the middle part of your page on page 6, it says narrative text may use dialogue to show how characters react to events. So today we are going to think about how characters react to events. And sometimes they use what we call dialogue, which is talking. And so they gave you an example there. Help, please help me, he screamed. And then it shows you how to, and then it has explanations on how to write a quotation. We have quotation marks around the part that's being talked. And then there's also some different punctuation inside it. There's a comma at the end inside the quotation marks before the sentence, he screamed. And then they have the next one, Rana thought. How strange, it seems to be getting cooler. So even when you have thoughts, the thoughts also have quotation marks around them, because you can't see inside the character's brain, right? But you can imagine what they say to themselves. And what we thinking is really in an internal dialogue. When you're thinking to yourself, you're talking to yourself, right? When you think, gosh, I really want to go outside and play in the snow. You might not be saying it outside, might not be saying it outside of your body, but you're thinking it. And so it's what we call internal dialogue. And we're going to have a little bit of that in our story today, perhaps. So I wanted to kind of go over that a little bit. And then on page 7, you have all of the different essential elements of a good story. And so if you look at those options again, establish the situation. What symbol shows establish the situation? Who can tell me which of those symbols shows me establish the situation? What would we call that little picture that they have at the top there? Noah, what is that?
2 rectangles.
It's a rectangle, isn't it? And it's basically getting us focused on what's going on in the story, right? What's happening, where's it happening, when's it happening? We wrote that down yesterday about our story. And then we introduced the characters. What's the cute little picture that shows us that? Mr. Lucas, what is that symbol that shows characters?
Usually that time.
A smiley face.
It's a smiley face, right? It's representing the characters, the people, or in this case, the animals that are inside our story. Very good.
Oh, and
the next one is the problem. And what, Miss Abby, is the symbol for a problem? Miss Arnold, what's that symbol that represents a problem on page 7?
What do you mean?
Abby might have frozen. Miss Renee, you seem to have that answer. What symbol goes with our problem?
Usually it's...
The problem is a cloud.
Is a cloud? A cloud, because we sometimes think of cloud as something stormy is going to happen, right? And so a problem, what's the problem? What events have caused the problem? It's a cloud. And then today we're also going to work on this next section, which is explaining how the characters respond to the problem. How do they feel? What do they think? What do they say? What do we have as a symbol for that one? What is our symbol, Cole? Let me see.
it's an arrow.
It's an arrow and I think the reason they chose an arrow is because it's moving the story along, right? It's giving you some movement about how are we going to solve this problem? What's going to happen with this problem? And then we are going to work on these today, but we are going to work on them tomorrow. And they are essential elements of a narrative. So we also need to have the solution. What's the symbol for solution? Let's see, Miss Clara, I'm so glad you're back today. I missed you yesterday, my friend. I'm so glad. Hey, Miss Clara, what symbol shows the solution? This one right here. What would that be? It's a sun, right? It's a sun. Because after the storm, we hope to have it clear up, right? And then we have the sun after. Nice job. And the last part is not necessarily a section of the story. It's kind of, it has to do with all of the story, really. But sometimes they make a point of saying it's at the end so that everybody clearly understands what the story is about. So what is the symbol for the point, Marin? What's the symbol for that?
A circle.
It's just a circle, right? Boring old circle, but it's the point. Gotcha. Good job. So those are the essential parts of our story that we need to have as a narrative. So when you're writing your own story, we're going to make sure that we have each of those sections in our story. So yesterday we started with, and you filled these in, and if you were not here yesterday for whatever reason, you probably, I'm going to go ahead and hit the present, so make it a little bigger here. I want you, we're going to read through what we wrote as the beginning of our story yesterday. Mrs. Harrison kind of cheated a little bit, and she wrote it but based on the things that you guys gave me, all of your ideas. But because we needed to hustle along, I wrote the beginning. But today you're going to write the middle. So think about there's that rectangle that Noah mentioned there. So long, long ago, in a pond on the savannah, a group of pollywogs were hanging out looking for food. The pond was surrounded by grasses and rocks. Maddie, the largest of the pollywogs, was keeping watch for predators while the other pollywogs were eating small plants. So remember, this section is to get the reader ready for seeing in their heads where this story begins. It's setting up the where and the when. So Mr. Gavin, where is our story taking place based on what we see here in the establishing the situation? Where is this story taking place?
A pond in the
Exactly. Very good. A pond in the savannah. Can everybody see that in their heads? Give me a thumbs up if you can see like a pond with in the savannah. And it says surrounded by grasses and rocks. Can you see that, Robert, in your head? Can you kind of see that? Yeah, good job. Thumbs up. So you can see that you're giving the reader what that looks like. Okay. And is it a modern day pond? Is it a modern day pond that we have here? No. How do we know when our story took place? What part gives us that idea? Cooper, what part tells us that this is not a story about something that happened to a frog yesterday?
In the beginning it says long, long ago.
Very good. It says long, long ago. So when we are telling somebody a story, we have to give them an idea of when it's taking place, right? We want to know that it's not a modern story. It's something that happened a while ago. Your story might take place, so long ago during the like when the dinosaurs were around, or it might not be that long ago. It might be more recent than that. So you have to think about giving the reader the idea of when your story is taking place. All right, Matt, then we have our next section. This is our characters. Maddie was a baby African bullfrog and had always been the frog most worried about the lizards, also in the savannah. Uh-oh. Done. All right. Maddie's friends were named Bill, Flower, and Phil. Remember how we came up with those names, my friend? Bill was tiny, Flower was tinier, and little Phil was the tiniest. They were always worried about eating, not worried about being eaten. Uh-oh. So if you think about this, can you imagine those characters in your head? Can you imagine so the baby African bullfrog, he's still a pollywog. He is still a tadpole, but he's going to be a bigger tadpole, isn't he? Because he is a bullfrog and bullfrogs are big. But there's these other little tadpoles, right? Those polywogs that are tiny. So does that set up a little bit of an idea about what's maybe going to happen? Maddie's going to have to protect them, sort of lead this crew, make sure that they're safe, right? Okay, so those are the two, there's our beginning that we had. So I want you to look real quick on page, oh boy, I gotta find it. I had it all marked and then it got unmarked. All right, on page 17 in your workbook, this page right here,
What you should know?
plot structures, page 17 in your workbook. Everybody find it and give me a thumbs up when you're there. You're gonna need your pencil for this.
What page?
Page 17.
Gluten free.
Page 17.
Oh, celiac, another word for gluten free?
All right. I'm still missing some thumbs up, so I'm still looking to see who's got page 17 ready for me. Miss Bird. Okay, good. Max, Miss Astria's ready. Miss Ellie showing me her page. Good job, August.
Cool.
Josh is ready. All right. Looking for just a couple more thumbs up that everybody's ready. All right, let's read through this and decide what answer we like best. So this is plot structure. This is those essential parts that we have for a story that we've already written. A was written the beginning of a pourquoi tale about a frog that answers the question why are poison dart frogs so colorful? Read this paragraph from the narrative and answer the question that follows. Rana lived by himself in a secret magical cave. On the outside, the cave was dull, rocky, and gray. But inside, the walls of the cave were covered with glittering jewels, rubies, diamonds, and sapphires. Rana shared his cave with 3 pet frogs. They were named Drab, Ash, and Gray, and their skin was dull gray-green. Drab was tiny, Ash was tinier, and Little Gray was tiniest of all. All right, here's the question. The student needs to fix the beginning by establishing the situation. Which sentence would best fit in this paragraph? A, long, long ago, deep in Africa, there was a little boy named Rana. B, these jewels are so beautiful, Rana exclaimed. One day, Rana was playing a hunting game with his frog friends. All right, choose one. Choose one. I see Nixon's looking over his options. Good job, buddy. All right, look at A, B, and C. Which one do you think should go in our establishing the situation? Which one do you think? Miss Haley Collender, which one did you pick? A, B, or C?
C.
Okay, all right. Max, which one did you pick?
C.
C, all right. Let's see, Mr. Carter, which one did you pick?
C.
C. Okay. Miss Ellie, which one did you pick?
C.
All right. Let's see. A couple more friends here. Mr. Jensen, which one did you pick?
A.
A. All right. Miss Madison, which one did you choose?
I choose C.
Okay. Let's see. Looking for Mr. Cole, which one did you pick?
A.
A. All right. Well, I somehow jumped on there we go. Let's look at the question again. The student needs to fix the beginning by establishing the situation. Which sentences would best fit in this paragraph? All right. So think about establishing the situation. And when we said establishing the situation, we're doing the when and the where and what's happening. The when, the where, and the what's happening. Which of those, A, B, or C, shows a when or a where? Which one of those shows a when or a where? When or a where? It's going to be A. Long, long ago, deep in Africa, there was a little boy named Rana, because that also helps us with our character too. Our character and our where. Deep in Africa. So let's look at the other two choices. So A is our correct answer, but let's look at B. Those jewels are so beautiful, Rana exclaimed. All right, so that sounds like something that the character is thinking. If we go to the different things on page 7, which one of these is the one where it shows what the character is thinking? Which of those sections does it show where the character is thinking? Which one of those?
Noah has his hand up.
Let's do Noah. Which one shows, which one of the parts of our story on page 7 is what the character is thinking? Mr. Noah. The arrow, right. The arrow shows what the character is thinking. So that comes in the middle of the story. So that one's not our answer. All right, because that one's going to come later in our story. How about, let's look at C. One day, Rana was playing a hunting game with his frog friends. Now, you could put this one in that first paragraph because it could kind of maybe give us an idea about the situation. But does the hunting game go with our story about where they are living right now and what they are? No, it doesn't go with that, does it? It could be a part of the next part of the story with part of the problem, but that section doesn't really go with what we have in that paragraph before. So that's why C is not going to be our best answer for that. All right, so let's think about narrative text again. We have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So we've written the beginning of our story, and now we need to write the middle, don't we? So I'm going to look back. I'm going to show you on my dot camera what we chose as our problem. So you are going to want to be on page, let's see, you can go back actually to our notes that we took on page, oh golly, page 10. Everybody turn to their page 10. And let's look at where we wrote down what our problem is. So I'm going to get out of this for a minute. Go to my dot camera. All right, so right here is our section with our problem, with our cloud, right? So you probably wrote this down, and if you didn't, you might want to jot it in there, but most of us got that down already. So our problem is the pollywogs are trying to keep away from Steve the lizard, but they have no legs. They got to get away from the lizard, but they don't have any legs, right? All right, so what we need to do is we need to come up with a paragraph that goes with our story on top of page 13. So you are going to write, I'm going to go ahead and type in our ideas. We're going to brainstorm first, and then I'm going to take some of those ideas. We're going to collaborate today. So one of our ideas that we use in EL a lot is collaboration, that when we work together, we make good progress. And I know that there are 42 of you that are in our classes, and that's a lot of people to write a story, isn't it? So if I try to take everybody's idea in the story, we would have a problem. So we're definitely going to have to collaborate today and put our ideas together, but some of you might be a little disappointed that I can't get everybody's idea in our story. But remember, you are going to write your own story. So the ideas that we have today are going to be, it's just an example, all right? So we're going to throw out some ideas about how we could use our plan and come up with our problem. So everybody wants to be on page 13 because this is where we're eventually going to write it. This is where you're going to write. I'm going to type it though so that you can see it a little bit clearer. All right, so let's look at their example. Remember, this was the story about, if you remember, why the poison dart frog is so colorful. That's the story here. And then our one is why pollywogs wiggle. Why did they have to learn how to do that? So here's the section that we have right here that is their example. One day, Rana was playing a hunting game with his frog friends. Okay, so are we setting up what was going on then, right? He accidentally knocked over one of the torches that lit up the cave. The torch fell onto the dried grass Rana used for a bed and set it on fire. Is that a problem? Definitely a problem, isn't it? All right, so in this section here, we need to establish what's going on here in the story and how Maddie is going to notice that we have a problem. We have the lizard named Steve. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask us to brainstorm. So I'm going to listen to a lot of ideas, and then we're going to turn them into some sentences. And like I said, we're going to have to collaborate and work together, and not everybody is going to get all their ideas in the story, unfortunately. But we're just going to do the best we possibly can, all right? So can my friends, you can unmute. I know there's a lot of you, so you're going to have to take turns as best as possible. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a minute. Again, you want to keep page 13 open because we're going to start writing in a minute here. All right. All right. So how can we start this part of our story? Who has an idea that could help us? Go ahead, Finn. It looks like you've got an idea.
No, I didn't have an idea.
Oh, okay. You look like you were waving at me for an idea. All right, Charlie Van Rickley. What kind of way? How do you think? What right?
They can try to grab some stones on the wall and throw it at the fire and put it out somehow.
Oh, very good. So that's an excellent idea if we were writing about Rana and how to save them from those little frogs. But we're doing the one about the pollywogs, why the pollywogs wiggle. So that's a great idea. I like your idea. Maybe you could stick that in your story tomorrow, maybe. If you, you know, that you could definitely add that too. But we're focusing on the pollywogs are trying to get, so what would be going on in this section where all of a sudden the lizard is trying to get them? What do you think, Lila? What do you think?
So I was thinking that like Maddie and Phil were playing a game of hide and seek, and the lizard was chasing Flower and Bill, and they came running.
Oh, interesting.
And everybody just started running, and they ran into the wall.
Okay, all right. I like that idea. August, what else? What do you think? Just some ideas for me?
I think they could put some leaves over them and disguise themselves.
Okay, so you're getting into the solution already, right? You're trying to figure out. So you're picking up some good solution, but we're still over on the problem section. You think about that idea and keep it definitely, and we'll try to use it again maybe in our solution section.
Okay.
All right. Who else has some ideas for me? Miss Astria.
So the pollywogs were having a nice time and eating their food. Well, Maddie was still keeping watch, but then all of a sudden she saw a lizard head and she was like, hide to the other pollywogs. But they were ignoring her. But then she started swimming over to them and said, "Come on, we have to go." And so.
All right.
And, yeah.
I love how you threw some dialogue in there too, right? So you are thinking already about our arrow section for what we're going to say and do, right? We have to get away from this lizard. I liked your idea about they were eating and they noticed a head. Oh, that's pretty good. I like that a lot. Let's see. Let's a couple more ideas, and then I'm going to have to choose some. Miss Madison, do you have some ideas?
I think like when they're eating, then all the pollywogs see a lizard and they run and have to hide, but there was nothing there, so yeah.
All right, excellent. So they're not going to be able to run and hide, right? They don't have any legs. So we got to figure that out a little bit. We got to figure out how to move, right? Which is kind of what the story is about, how we are going to move. All right, thank you, my friends. Those are some good, great ideas. Let's go ahead and put some of them into our story. So on page 13, everybody see where they need to be? On page 13, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to type some ideas in here. Maybe I'm going to type some ideas in here. All right, let's see. Is it going to let me? Maybe not. Oh, all right. I had it all set up, of course. And so now let's see. Is it going to let me type? All right. So I liked how Maddie, oh, a little bigger than I wanted. Well, maybe okay. Might be okay. All right, Maddie and her friends, you already know their name, right? I liked playing hide and seek. How about this? Maddie and her friends had just finished a game of hide and seek. They decided they needed a snack because I like the part about that they needed food, right? All right. They began searching for food. Uh-oh, but now we got to get the problem in here, don't we?
But someone else was also looking for food.
I like but I like that. Someone else was also looking for food. Oh no! Maddie saw the head of a lizard. Oh, no. Head of a lizard from behind the grass. Let's see. Maddie
A big rock.
Okay. Coming from behind, because we said rocks, right? Behind the rocks. Okay, I'm gonna make this just a little bit. I'm gonna make it so you guys can still see it though. Make it a little bit. There we go. Make it fit in our spot. So I don't think I'm quite done yet. Getting close. I'm not quite there yet.
Hey.
All right. Are you guys writing? I see some people who are not writing. Miss Clara,
Yep,
you gotta
I
have
just got to keep
pencil
that on,
going,
but I
my
can
friend.
hear you.
This is on page 13. Everybody needs to be on page 13, getting this written down as I'm typing. All right. So let's make sure we're getting this written down, my friend.
And I still
Henrik writing and Miss Elena Boyer, are you getting this? Are you getting it written down, buddy? Gotta write this down.
it is how much rush we have to be in.
What is that noise?
I could wait a while, basically.
Somebody needs to mute. Maybe.
Okay.
As bad as
I
it
think it's Mrs.
was
Bond.
earlier. Like I'm not taking ibuprofen right now, so I could
Right,
definitely.
let me see what I can do here.
If that's the only factor.
Okay. Then I will
Yeah,
call
that's
her.
it.
I'm gonna mute Mrs. Aubin. There we go. All right, everybody getting this?
What was that?
All right, Maddie and her friends had just finished a game of hide and seek. You're writing this down, my friends. They began searching for food. Someone else was also looking for food. Maddie saw the head of a lizard coming from behind the rocks. Okay, so we got to get in. His name is Steve, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we need a sentence about this. Maddie recognized it was Steve. And Steve is, so I looked up what kind of lizards you can find in the African savanna. And there were quite a few, but most of them were chameleons. So I thought that was interesting. So do we want to make Steve a chameleon? We're not going to have him change his, he's not going to be doing a lot of chameleon kind of things, but we could put, recognize it was Steve the
Chameleon.
Yeah.
I don't think a human can be a chameleon.
Well, his name is, he's not a human, he's a lizard, but his name is very like, isn't it? Definitely, definitely. Maddie recognized it was
The
Steve the
chameleon.
Chameleon. All right.
Especially that is in a game.
All right, I'm gonna make sure that all that, it looks like again that I don't have it all at the same size. Sure.
Steve.
Oh my goodness, somebody has their mic on. Might want to have it muted. All right. Maddie and her friends had, okay, so give me a thumbs up when you've got all that written. I know it's a lot, so but I'm letting you catch up. And then we're gonna go and we're gonna do the bottom of page 13. Maddie and her friends had just finished a game of hide and seek. They decided they needed a snack. They began searching for food. Someone else was also looking for food. Maddie saw the head of a lizard coming from behind the rocks. Maddie recognized it was Steve, the chameleon.
Lizard from a chameleon to a chameleon.
All right.
Miss Harrison?
Yep.
You should do a head of a chameleon.
Well, I think, well, because a chameleon is a type of lizard. So I think we're establishing what kind of lizard he is right there.
Okay.
Is that okay? Now, so because I'm just trying to stick to our plan. So if we look back down, if we look at our plan right here, right? We wrote the pollywogs are trying to keep away from Steve the lizard, but they have no legs. So I was trying to stick to that, but I was also trying to make sure that we had, but I wanted to, I added some details about the chameleon part because I looked up what kind of lizard might be found in an African savanna. And so chameleon came up a lot.
Oh, okay.
So give me a thumbs up there when you're done, friends. I'm just trying to get a good gauge of who's finished and who's not, because I want to make sure you get it down. I can, at this point, make it a little larger, in fact, now that I'm done typing. Here we go. Sorry, you have to hang it for just a second. There you go, guys. All right. So let's go ahead and finish getting that written. So Maddie must at least kind of know Steve a little bit because she recognized Steve. So that might, so obviously, so if she knows Steve, she probably knows what Steve wants to do. Steve wants to do what? Eat them, right? So our next section is the arrow. And when we made a plan, you can go back, if you're finished already, you can go back to page 11. If you're finished typing, I'm not typing, sorry, I was typing. If you're finished writing, on page 11, we are going to have, here's our arrow section right here. And the arrow section actually also has a little bit of our solution in it, especially in the what does he or she do section. That part here definitely has a little bit of what the solution is and how they managed to get away from Steve, right? And so, but we want to look at on page 11, next to where it has the arrow, it says explain how the characters respond to the problem. How does she feel? Scared, protective, brave. So Maddie, we know, is the big one. So she's probably scared because she doesn't want to get eaten, but she's going to be protective of Phil and Flower and Bill, and she's going to have to be brave to be able to survive, right? And then it says, what does he think? Well, they're worried they might die, so they need to find some place to hide. And actually, that's what it says. What does he or she say? We need to find a place to hide. And then we said, what were some of the things they did? They first tried to cover themselves with plants. They tried out some different movements. And then they did, so they wiggled, they quivered, they shivered, they jiggled, they wriggled, they wobbled, they jogged. And eventually they figure out that they have to swim, right? So they're gonna wiggle so they can swim because they don't have any legs, right? When we swim, we use our legs and our arms, but they don't have legs and arms. So we would have to imagine how we might move if you were somebody who didn't have legs or arms. That would be, you'd have to really move in a different way than that humans normally do. All right, so if you're looking at page 11, we're getting ready to write some sentences on the bottom of page 13. So I'm gonna exit this. Hopefully everybody's done writing. Can you give me?
I'm not.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, sweetheart, is I know that you might not be done, but this is part of it's on this assignment and it's on this slide and it's gonna stay on this slide. So afterwards you can come back to this slide and it's slide 12 and you can copy it down from there. And I know some of my other friends didn't finish what was on slide 7 and what was on slide 8. I know Nixon needs to go back and he needs to write those 2 sections because he was out having fun yesterday. So he needs to go back to those as well. So if anybody who's not finished with slide 12, it's totally fine. You can come back and do that. So we are now looking at that arrow section. So everybody look at page 11. Everybody looking at page 11 with our ideas, where our arrow ideas are. I like how my friend Josh flipped back to those pages. Thank you. I really love it when I can see you actually doing what I ask. It's so awesome. Thank you, friends. Oh, Miss Astrid is on that page and Max is on that page. Good job. So looking at on that page, I gave you, I was wasting some time or stalling a little bit. Here's our ideas. So we have to kind of show how our character is feeling, scared, protective, brave, and how can we show that in words? We don't have to necessarily use those words in our writing, but we can show that with those actions. What is Maddie thinking? What are the other characters thinking? They're worried, obviously, that they might get eaten, they might die. They got to get someplace to hide. And they can say, we need to find a place to hide. And then here are some things that they do to figure this out. This is going to be more of our solution part. We're going to focus on this section for this box. So everybody's going to be, I'm going to be typing in a minute, but everybody is going to look, also have that page 13 close by. So any ideas on give me some ideas, friends, for what I can type in this next section. So let's look at their example real quick. Help, please help me, Rana screamed. He knew he had to find a way out. He ran for the entrance, but it was in flames. He reached down to pick up Drab, Ash, and Gray, but his little friends hopped away from him. He followed them, but they just hopped more quickly and deeper into the cave. Oh no. All right, so what are we gonna type about our story? Why do pollywogs wiggle? What can we type in this section right here? Who has some ideas to share with me? Josh, do you have some ideas?
Maybe they were all running away and then they all accidentally split up.
Oh, get separated? Interesting idea. Okay, let's see. I see Miss Astria has some ideas.
When Maddie saw Steve, she was scared, but then she realized she had to be brave and save her friends.
Ooh, I like that. All right, you guys have great ideas. Abby, do you want to add some ideas? Uh-oh, I lost Miss Abby.
I don't have any
You want to try to say that one more time, Abby? That was kind of hard to hear.
My computer is about to die.
Oh, your computer. Okay, well, get that plugged in then. It'll probably be good. All right, Surnay, do you have some ideas for me?
she told her friends, guys, it's Steve, we gotta hide. Remember he tried to attack us?
Oh, okay, so you're throwing some past stuff in there. Got it. All right. Evie, I saw your hand up. Did you have some ideas? Evelyn? No? Okay. Just checking because you have your hand up. Your little hand up is up there. All right. So I love all those ideas. You guys are doing great. Unfortunately, I'm just looking at the time and we need to get this last little section finished here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get us started. So Maddie, so I don't know, how does a pollywog talk? Because I don't know that she's going to scream. I don't know. Okay, yelled. I'm going to go with yelled. Yelled. Watch out. It is Steve. Remember, he tried to eat us last week? Maddie was scared, but realized she had to be brave and save her friends from being eaten. She said we have to find a place to hide. Does that work? All right, let's get, oh, all right. Okay, let me get this all sized right. Let's see. Okay, the pollywogs looked around for a place to hide. All right. What do we think? To get that in present mode so you guys can see it a little bigger. How's that? Better? So, you'll notice that Mrs. Harrison used some of those quotation marks. Those are the little marks. So when you draw them, they're not going to quite look like the ones that Mrs. Harrison typed. If you just make two small little roundish sort of, so if you remember when we sort of made, when in math, when we use parentheses, they're not that big. They're much smaller than that, but they're that same crescent shape that we use for a parenthesis. And so you don't need the little dot that's at the bottom there. Just make two little parenthesis hatch marks. And when you are doing that, they come at the beginning of the dialogue and at the end of the dialogue. And you'll notice that we have on, it says, eat us last week. There's an exclamation mark and then the quotation marks. Maddie was scared, but realized she had to be brave and save her friends from being eaten. She said, and then you'll notice there's a comma there. Everybody getting their commas? We got a couple commas in there. After said and after yelled. Then we have more quotation marks. We have to find a place to hide, period, and quotation marks. Now those quotation marks you'll notice are sort of hugging the talking. They hug what's being said out loud. And so, or what's being thought, can be also an internal dialogue. And so you'll notice that those little hash marks are on either side, sort of hug that talking. And then we know that the talking's done. The polywogs looked around for a place to hide. So that is where we're going to stop for our story today. I'm going to give about another minute, and then I want you to think about what question you might want to have for your story. Because tomorrow you're going to start planning your story. You're going to start thinking about characters and problems and how your character is going to feel about those problems. And so you're going to need to choose your pourquoi question. Okay, I'm just looking at the time here. I want to be sure that I'm being careful with everybody's time. Can you give me a thumbs up if you're finished copying? I see that I have several people who are. I have got a couple people who are not. That is okay. If you are not finished copying, you are going to come back to this slide. I'm going to go ahead and exit out. So this is going to be, again, it's attached to your slideshow that's attached to this assignment. You are going to find it on today's work on 12 and 14, on slides 12 and 14. And then anybody who wasn't finished with those other slides, they're also on this presentation. So really briefly, I know some of you are trying to scrap those last few sentences there on your paper. Thank you so much. Go ahead and put it on pause for a second. So I want you to start thinking about what pourquoi question you might be interested in answering. And so we have 2 pages worth of ideas. And you can also choose a why question that is not on this list. But if you decide to do that, you might want to check with Mrs. Aubin or I to see if it's one that goes with what we have been kind of talking about. But if you'll have this list, and I want you to think about which one might you be interested in doing your pourquoi for. And I want you to spend this time tonight thinking about it, and I'm even going to show you where you can write it if you've made a decision. All right? So here's all of our why questions. I'm just going to read them again for really super quick, but they're going to be attached to this assignment, so you can go back and look at it anytime you want. Why do frogs have long tongues? Why are frogs poisonous? Why are frogs different colors? Why do frogs jump? Why do they jump so far? Why do frogs eat flies? Why are frogs fast? Why do frogs start out as a tadpole? Why do frogs' eyes bulge? Why are they so small? Why are poison frogs not white? Why can't all frogs climb trees? Why do tree frogs live in trees? Why do frogs live in ponds? Why do frogs have a bubble in their throats when they croak? Why do frogs croak? Why do frogs have slimy skin? Why are some green? Why do frogs have spots, bands, spots? Words were from our poison dart frog poem. Why are there frogs, different kinds of frogs? Why do they live in different places? Why are frogs and toads different? Why do some frogs hide under the mud? Why are frogs different sizes and colors? Why do frogs not have fur? Why, in other words, why do frogs have slimy skin? Is really what that question probably really has to do with. Why don't frogs walk? Why do the tadpole's gills disappear? Why are frogs attracted to light? Why do frogs eat bugs? Why can frogs climb so well? Why do frogs live where it is so cold? Why would frogs die in the cold? All right, we came up with many of them. We're not going to add any today because I think that if you have some that you wish to add, and make your pourquoi out of. So when you're choosing your question today, my friends, I want you to think about what is going to make a good story. What are you going to be able to make a problem? You have to come up with a solution. You have to come up with all of those essential elements that we were talking about from page 7, right? Here are all those sections. To make a good plan, we need all those sections. So think about, be creative. Which one of those questions really gives you some good ideas about what you could come up with? what could you have happen? So like, I mean, they were pretty creative. Remember, right, some of my kids in the past made a story about a dance party and a dance contest. And that's how frogs ended up being able to, to move the way they did. There was a dance party. So be creative. Think about, really, some outlandish, remember, it's imagined story, but it does have to make sense. So think about that, in that it does need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and all those parts that we are talking about. I would love it if you could, before tomorrow, make a choice about what question you think you would like to do. And you can write it on page, I'll show you, let me get it for you. So on page 19, if you think of, I would love it if you could do this before tomorrow, so you have an idea. Here on page 19 is the point. Oh, you got to see it. There we go. Is the point. What is the message or purpose of your narrative? Well, the purpose of our pourquois is to tell why. So your question would go here. Why do frogs croak? Why do frogs have slimy skin? Why do frogs have webbed feet? Why do, whatever your choice is, on page 19, I would love it if you could write your question in that spot. All right? So on page, again, it's page 19. Now, if you don't do this today, it's something you're going to have to work on tomorrow. So I would love it while it's fresh in your head for you to think about what you could put on page 19 when we finish this Zoom. All right. Can all my friends give me a thumbs up? I'm going to stop sharing for a bit. Give me a thumbs up if you think you know what question you might pick and write on page 19. You have an idea, and you can go back to the list and look through them. I'll have that list. Okay, so it looks like about half of them, Mrs. Aubin. Looks like about half or more have an idea, which is a great thing. So if you have an idea, please write it on the point on page 19. So you have a plan of how when we start planning out your story, you know what your basic idea is going to be about. All right. So how did we do, my friends? Did we get lots done today? We did lots of good work, didn't we? All right. So I'm going to let you go. I am going to let you, again, look at the list of possible ideas. Write it on page 19. If you didn't finish page 13 or page 14 on your story, no, page 12 and 13, sorry, these two pages here, then you might need to go back and finish filling them in. Everybody good? Know what your job is? Okay. All right. If you have a question, go ahead and stay on and I can help you with that.